Great day around here because we know it's time to visit with our good friend Ron, the car guy, so you can learn something about your vehicular unit, and that's what you're all here about, isn't it, Ron?
Absolutely. I'm here to talk about gas today.
And you're an expert at that.
Yeah, I am. There's people out there watching laughing right now. No, something that showed up in the Des Moines market last week, if you've noticed it, it's not all the places, but some of the pumps, E15.
I just saw it this morning coming in.
Yep, and they've been talking about that for several years, rolling it out. And like I said, it hit the Des Moines market last week. And I noticed on the way in this morning, it's about 10 cents a gallon less than regular fuel. It's regular gasoline was $1.97. E15 is $1.87.
Really?
And last week they had it on special. When they rolled it out, it was $1.15 for E15.
Nice.
But it went back up to $1.87, and so people might be looking at the sign, looking at the pump. I believe the color of that hose is orange. So now for Lou and I, gasoline pumps are becoming confusing.
Yeah, now a color test.
Yeah, exactly. We got black, green, orange, and yellow. So. People might be wondering what it is, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. And basically what E15 is it's similar to the ethanol blend, not the E85. We're going to leave that off to the side. But we used to have gasoline, and then we had the ethanol blend, which was 10% ethanol.
So that would have been essentially E10.
E10. E15 is just like E10, but they've put a little more alcohol into it. It's 15% ethanol instead. And I'm not sure how these stations are doing it. They've got a couple of options. They can, have a whole nother tank with E15 in it, or some manufacturers are going to put blending pumps in where they take regular gas and the ethanol and they blend it right at the hose to attain whatever you're after. I'm not sure which one they're doing, but nevertheless, E15 is just more alcohol in the gasoline than what the ethanol blend was. So the question becomes, can I use it in my car?
Right. Who can use it and who can't?
And the marketing, I don't always agree with everything, but the marketing being done on this fuel, and it says it right on the pump, it says it's EPA approved.
Okay.
And it is. When they, several years ago, when they were coming up with the ethanol, the E15 and stuff, they went to the EPA. They did a whole bunch of emissions tests. They got a waiver in some areas and stuff. And the EPA has approved this vehicle, or has approved 2001 and newer vehicles to use E15 from an emissions standpoint. The EPA didn't build your car.
Right.
The EPA didn't engineer your car.
Right.
All right, so the big question is, what about a functional standpoint?
Well, and it'll function. I mean, it'll burn in your car. Your car will operate and stuff. What we don't know is if there's going to be any long-term effect on older vehicles, basically 2001 and newer, if there's going to be any effect on it, because this fuel didn't exist when those cars were engineered,
so what
designed, and built.
Could happen?
Concerns with the auto manufacturers are the different rubber seals and stuff in the fuel system.
It's corrosive, right? Or it can be.
Yeah, alcohol is corrosive.
Right. And
it can also cause the rubber seals and the plastic. There's a lot of plastic and nylon in the fuel pump. It can cause that to swell. And we don't know if that's going to happen. We know it doesn't happen with 10% alcohol.
Right. Because
it was designed and built for that. We don't know if it'll happen with 15%. Nobody knows. Initially, when they started talking about E15, there was 5 automobile manufacturers that stated their warranties were not going to cover fuel system claims if you used E15. They were not. And 8 other manufacturers said that their warranties may not cover. Now, what we're talking about here are 2001 through 2011 vehicles. So we don't have to worry about warranty, because most of those cars are out of warranty now.
Sure,
yeah. If you have a 2012...
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. That's true. They are out of warranty already.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. If you have a 2012 and newer vehicle, it's okay. because the manufacturers knew this was coming. And so the cars are designed. So the manufacturers have said, hey, if your car's 2012 and newer, it's okay to run E15. And also, we've got the flex fuel vehicles out there that can run E85. You can run that in any year flex fuel because it'll determine how much alcohol's in there.
Because it adjusts.
And it'll adjust, and the fuel system components are made for 85% alcohol, so 15 is not going to hurt. So basically, 2012 and newer, you're okay. 2001 to 2011, it's EPA approved, but that's from an emissions standpoint. That's not from a component standpoint, and we just don't know what's going to happen. It's quite possible that everything would be fine.
Is there anything indicating it won't be fine?
The only I remember back when many moons ago when I was a little car guy, when the ethanol first hit the streets, a lot of fuel system problems were blamed on the ethanol that was in the fuel, and some of them were probably legit. Some were just because the cars were old.
Right.
If you've got a 10-year-old car and the fuel pump goes out, it probably went out because it's 10 years old.
But the something that was added new to the mix was the fuel at the time, so that's where they pointed the finger.
And that could quite possibly happen here. Is all of a sudden, I've got a 10-year-old car with 120,000 miles on it. My fuel pump failed, and 2 days ago I put E15 in the car. That's unlikely. A tank here and there isn't going to hurt. I mean, if it's going to create an issue on your car, and that's an if, it would be putting it in and using it consistency for a longer period of time where the alcohol is always in there. So we're not going to know.
Now, the places that installed the E15 pumps, do they still have regular E10, as we were talking about, regular ethanol pumps?
Yes, and what I saw was well, they had E85, which you don't want to put that in any vehicle.
Right. Unless it's a flex fuel.
Yeah, our tow trucks have proven you will go 8 blocks. And so they have E85, they've got E10, they've got E15, they've got regular gasoline, and some of them have diesel. So it's like a colorblind person opening up an 8-pack of Crayolas. We're just confused. All these different color pumps and stuff.
It's important to keep in mind, especially if you're traveling over the holidays. Sometimes you don't look, you just grab, and it's like you might just want to pay a little closer attention to what you're grabbing.
And we definitely see that. So, is it bad for your car? We don't know. It's certainly not going to be bad now and then.
Right.
What you have to weigh out is, right now you're saving 10 cents a gallon.
Which is awesome.
If you've got an 8, 9, 10-year-old car and a fuel injector goes bad, there's a good possibility the E15 didn't cause that.
Right.
But we just don't know. There's just no way of knowing.
Well, and the other issue here is that with the increased amount of ethanol, the car is not going to go as far on a tank of gas. You don't get the energy out of the same amount of ethanol that you do with gasoline. But it's renewable.
Exactly, and that is certainly true. And people that have flex fuel vehicles notice that. When they put the E85 in there, they lose a measurable amount of fuel mileage, and there is, in some cases, a decrease in power.
But at the same time, we're not having to drill for go juice for our vehicles. We can just grow it here in Iowa.
Exactly, exactly. And the difference, you've never heard of anybody, for the most part, complain about loss of fuel mileage using E10, using 10% ethanol, because it's almost unmeasurable.
Right.
And E15 will be the same thing. Will you lose some fuel mileage? Yes. Are you going to be able to measure it? Probably not.
Right.
Tire pressure will have a bigger effect on your fuel mileage than using E15 versus regular gas.
Good point.
And leaving a stoplight the way Jason does too. We do the same thing.
I saw Jackie drive one time. but so. While that is true, that really shouldn't be a determining factor. You are right. It's a renewable fuel. We're not drilling for oil. The problem with all the renewable fuels, the hybrid vehicles, natural gas conversions and stuff is, right now gasoline is so cheap. That stuff is all on the back burner, and gasoline's cheap just because there's a glut of oil. I mean, it's supply and demand. I saw something on Facebook the other day where a political party or something was, and I try not to get into politics, but they were trying to take credit or you know, that gasoline prices were the lowest. They're not the ones out there drilling for oil. They're low because there's so much oil.
There's a lot of oil.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. So now you pay attention when you're going to the pumps. Again, any other questions, Westside Auto Pros is the place you turn to. And if you want to ask Ron a question, he does answer those questions. And where do you answer those questions, Ron?
You can email me at Westside Auto Pros, or you can go to AskRonTheCarGuy.com.
Really quickly, Ron, because a lot of people are traveling over the holiday weekend coming up. If people get caught in a bind, are you guys available to help out?
309-1911.
There you go.
There I have it. Put that in your phone and make sure you know where it's at.
Just in case.